So take a look what you've done. Cause baby, now we got bad blood. Now we got problems. And I don't think we can solve them. You made a really deep cut. And baby, now we got bad blood.
Hey, remember when you tried to write me off?
I think they are doing, and by they, I mean
Dr. Evil.
Well, no, it's bigger than that. It's bigger than that. By they,
this speech to Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. We've just arrived at the airport, and now we're taking the ferry over to Camp Justice. That's home to the military trials and the military courts. Of course, the big case is the 9/11 prosecution. There is so much secrecy around this entire case. There are a lot of things that we would like to show you, but they're off limits. They're restricted for national security reasons. And what's striking to me is that so many Americans don't even realize that the detention camps are still open. The military trials have still not concluded. And I just felt it was time to check in again for Americans to really see what was happening here.
As the Trump administration begins its first 100 days in office, we are at Guantanamo Bay and we'll be reporting from here at Camp Justice. We'll be inside the courtrooms. We'll have up on the status of the military trials as well as the detention camps. This new administration is going to have to make some hard choices about the future of this operation.
And the reason why Trump is always saying central casting, like, are you listening? What do you think that means? And the reason why so many people look different, like CGI or like they have a mask on or something, it's definitely not because people have already been arrested. But, you know, the television didn't tell you, so that means it hasn't happened.
Hello, lightness, my old friend. I've come to be with you again, because a great awakening left its seeds while you're sleeping, and the vision that was planted in my brain still remains within the sound of silence.
Glenn Kessler from the Washington Post had a fact check about Joe Biden from earlier this month, noting that Hunter Biden admitted in court in July that he was in fact paid substantial sums from Chinese companies. Kessler wrote, Hunter Biden reported nearly $2.4 million in income in 2017 and $2.2 million in income in 2018, most of which came from Chinese or Ukrainian interests. But this directly goes against what Joe Biden said in the debate in 2020 with Donald Trump. Take a listen.
My son has not made money in terms of this thing about, what are you talking about, China.
Once you
None
became
of that
vice president,
is true.
he made a fortune in Ukraine, in China, in Moscow,
That is simply
and various
not
other places.
true.
So it's from two different debates, but, I mean, Trump was right. I mean, he did make a fortune from China, and Joe Biden was wrong.
Okay, so how did Anthony Fauci use his media platform to mislead you, your family, and basically the whole world? Well, he did it by using the media to omit critical life-saving information. Let's start with this.
The same day you say there's no evidence, there's all kinds of evidence. You had a interview on CNN on August 29th of 2021, where, again, I just don't want to take time to find the exact quote, but you said there's no evidence. There's no evidence that ivermectin is helpful. On that exact same day, and I've got the studies right here. There was a website that was tracking the random controlled studies. Here they are, showing 60, 70% efficacy of ivermectin. The same day you say there's no evidence, there was all kinds of evidence.
And you weren't told that by the media, were you? That data, it was there the whole time. And those of us who knew it, who were studying it, they wouldn't let us report it. In fact, here's how it happened. I was anchoring a newscast that very same month, and we had a story on ivermectin. When I read through the script of the story on the set, there was critical information that was missing. There was no mention that ivermectin studies showed 67% effectiveness. There was no mention that doctors were prescribing it more and more because it was working. There was no mention that ivermectin was causing the COVID rates to drastically drop in other countries. And there was no mention that ivermectin got the Nobel Prize for Medicine because of its safety, and it got that award in 2015. I added all of those points to the script to make sure the story was balanced and it had actual facts with the other side. What was there was only a doctor who said he wouldn't use ivermectin on his patients, and there was a lady who was standing next to a horse saying that ivermectin was used on her horses and she would never use it on people. Again, no mention of the studies you just saw or the fact that people were actually suing hospitals at that point, forcing the hospitals to use ivermectin to save their loved ones because hospitals were refusing to use it. After I added the facts and the balance of that story, I got the surprise of my career. I'm telling you, this has never happened to me in my career. My news director came into the studio at that point and he asked, "Why did you change the script?" I told him, I changed it because it was not balanced and there were facts that were missing in the story. It was misleading. "It's been changed," he said, "and you will read what's in the prompter." He looked at me and he pointed his finger. He said, "You will read what's in the prompter." First thing out of my mouth, "No, I will not." He said, "You will read what's in the prompter." I said, "No, I will not." I said, "Someone else could read the story, but it is not going to be me, because if I read that story, I'd be responsible for omitting information." And that was one of many battles that I had in that newsroom. And guess what? Sadly, someone else did read that story that day, 3 times. So here's the question. Why didn't they want you to know about ivermectin? Let's break it down. The shot was released, if you'll remember, on an emergency authorization order. In order to do that, there cannot be any other drug on the market that would be effective against COVID. Ivermectin was effective against COVID. And now we all know that Fauci actually doubled his wealth during COVID, and the drug companies, they made big dollars on forcing people to take a shot that we also now know is still killing people. And it was also on that day that I knew I wouldn't be there for much longer, because I was not going to allow the gifts and the talents that God gave me to be used to mislead people, because I'm accountable to one God. It took a while, but light always exposes darkness. And that is the good news.